So in this video, we're gonna cover essential punching mechanics that nobody's doing, or at least nobody's teaching it, okay? This is important for you guys to develop, especially if you're training on your own, at home, by yourself. You need to be aware of these common mistakes and common habits that folks do when they don't have a training partner or someone there to check them. So if you're in your on-guard stance, you're in your fighting stance, because you learn your basic fighting stance, whatever that happens to be. Again, we go into detail in that in our online training at jkdprocess.com. But if I'm here, we're gonna start just with our basic jab. There's a few things I'm doing on my jab. Obviously, the lead hand is going. Now, you can use a jab for a lot of different purposes, and this is gonna apply to a lot of your other punches as well. I can use my jab to set up my other punches when I'm throwing the rear hand or a hook or something else. I can use my jab certainly to set up a hook punch on the other angle, coming on the outside of their guard. I can use the jab to keep them at distance. I can keep them away with the jab, of course. I can use the jab to blind them, just to put something in their face. So there's a lot of purposes and things in which you might use the jab or any of your other punches. In terms of mechanics, this is very common across all punches, but I don't see anybody doing this or anybody teaching this. So using the jab, for example, the biggest thing you want to think about on your jab, outside of power and the basic function mechanics, but you want to make sure that you're keeping your elbow down when you punch. Why is this important? Because if I pop my elbow out, now I'm telegraphing that. So a lot of people throw their jab like this. Their elbow pops up and then their punch goes. Elbows popping up, punch goes. It's a lot easier to see this than it is just a straight jab here, just going straight on target. Now, the other aspect to this is when I'm throwing my elbow out, my power is going to go where my elbow is. Wherever my elbow is facing, that's my power. So now I've lost what we call our power line. In Jeet Kune Do, we have a principle called power line. It's a concept Bruce Lee got from old school boxing. Jack Dempsey, look it up. So I lose that power line in the process of popping my elbow out. What that means is that if my opponent presses on me and my elbow is out, it's much harder to resist my opponent because my elbow is out. When the elbow is close into the body, again, this is all the same thing in Wing Chun, right? When the elbow is closer into my body, it's a lot easier for me to resist because it's backed by my body. It's backed by my body weight, my elbow is. And there's alignment here from my elbow all the way to wherever the source of the power is, which is in my legs. So that's why I want my elbow to stay down when I'm throwing most of my straight line punches, such as the jab or the rear straight. The other aspect to it is I don't want to flare this elbow out because now I'm opening the ribs, right? And I don't want to open a target unnecessarily. So I want to punch straight and bring my hand right back and protect the ribs. Another common mistake that nobody teaches, okay, and I get tired, I'm sorry, I get frustrated. I sound like a broken record to my students because we talk about this all the time. But one of the common things that I see folks do on most of their punches is they're turning their head. What does that mean? That means when I throw my rear straight, I throw my cross, right? Where's my head? Notice my head. My head is turned now. Look at my nose. My nose is facing this way. Why is my nose facing this way? There's no need for that, right? I need to keep my head straight ahead on the target, which is you. I need to keep my head straight ahead. The reason this is important, okay, a couple things, right? One, when I turn away, even though I'm still looking at you through my left eye, even though I can still see you in front of me, I've got a huge blind spot over here now, and I can't see that. If there's someone else coming here, or if you're throwing a looping shot that kind of gets into my peripheral, it's gonna be much harder to see that. But if I turn my head, not only can I see you now, but I'm also limiting my blind spot, and my field of vision is a lot wider to what the potential threat could be, which is in front of me. So you want to avoid turning your head. Okay, I don't see anyone really talking about that, but that's important. I tell my students that all the time. So we got the elbow. We're not going to turn our head. The other aspect to it is, again, these are common mistakes. Please record yourselves. Watch yourselves as you train. Don't just watch yourself in the mirror. Just videotape yourself on your cell phone and go back and watch it. You're going to see a lot of your telegraphs and common mistakes that I'm talking about right now. On your cross, I see this a lot as well. This motion right here, they're curving the spine. Why are you curving your spine? Now, you may do this because you might want to slip or dodge or duck, or you're trying to avoid getting hit. I understand that's different. However, what that does though is when your spine is curved, what does that do to your power? It takes away from your power. You want to imagine yourself just on a straight line. So I want to rotate. I want to turn. I want everything to turn. And so when my spine loses alignment, I'm losing some of that turn. I'm losing some of that torque. It's almost like trying to fight from here. It's very difficult to fight from here. Also, it doesn't set me up very well for my next punch. So I want to make sure I rotate. Now I'm set up for that next punch a lot better, okay? So very important, don't curve your spine if you can help. It's the same reason why we typically don't slip from the spine. We're gonna turn as we slip. We're gonna rotate, dip, keep the spine aligned because that's gonna keep our power in line. Now, those are the rules. Once you know the rules, you can always break them. I see, Tyson is known for this. He will slip just here at the waist and move his head. Even though technically, right, a proper slip is more rotational in terms of slipping, but you can certainly do that. Nothing saying you can't rotate here, but just understand what you're doing and why. I always tell my students to understand their why. So I see my student doing something that may look wrong. I ask them, are you aware of what you're doing? Do you know why you're doing it this way? Then typically the answer is, no, Sifu, I don't have, this is just what I'm doing. I didn't know I was doing it wrong or right or anything. But then I explained it and it kind of makes sense to them. Now the last aspect here on the punch, I want you guys to understand in terms of punch mechanics, common mistakes that you're probably making right now at home is you're not bringing your punch back. And you're not bringing your punch back fast enough. So let me grab my gloves. I don't know why I put them down. But this is what I see a lot, whether you're training at home or in person, but especially if you're punching a bag, I see this. They punch the bag and their hand comes back at some point. But if you're used to punching a bag, you're used to this impact. And so when you don't punch a bag and you're looking for that impact, a lot of times, if that impact's not there, you're gonna be very slow to get your hand back. Or worse yet, I see folks punching and their hand drops on the way back. They punch, they drop the hand on the way back. That's where you're getting countered, okay? One of my favorite things to do is to punch people when their hand is on their way back. Why do I like to punch them when their hand's on the way back? Because that way I know where their hand is, and that's one less tool that I have to worry about. If I know his hand is on the way back, I don't have to worry about this hand attacking typically. And all I have to worry about is his other hand or maybe his kicks. And so I prefer to attack you on your way back as a counter. And so you want to make sure that you are just bringing your hands back nice and fast. That is the last and most important tip. Bring your hands back. When you punch, we talked about hand replacement. Bring the hand back quickly. Bring the hand back. You really want to target trying to bring your hand back faster than when it goes out, but also maintain your power. Because I also see students when they're trying to bring their hand back, they have no power and they're trying to throw it really fast. They may not even fully extend their punch, but they're trying to get their hand back fast enough before I counter them with the focus mitt. As you do this, as you talk about punching, make sure that you do fully extend your punches, but don't lock your elbows. Be safe. Don't lock your arm out because you don't want to hyperextend your elbow. There's no guarantee that when you punch, you're going to hit your target. Okay, so you can overextend that. So you have to understand your range when you extend and know, boom, I fully extended. Now I can kind of whip and use that retraction to pull my punch back. But you got to train that, okay? If you don't know the extent or your range, it's very easy in the beginning for you to hyperextend or hyperextend your elbow in the process of punching. So just be mindful of that and train that more carefully. It's good to kind of do that with weights. If you have some small light weights, 3 pound, 5 pound weights, that's gonna give you a better feel and sense of your range in your punching. So that's the last tip. Check out our next video. Our next video, we're gonna talk about some basic footwork principles and what to do and how to follow up after you throw your punch, because we just talked about how to throw a jab. We just talked about throwing our rear hand. What do you do next? A fight is more than just one punch or one kick. Let's check out what to do next.